So the lists are in for the Triple Crown GT 2022, being held in Colchester in Essex a week from now, which I'm very much looking forward to, and I've been preparing quite solidly, not just for this tournament but for another one as well, over the last 6 months, with 2,500 points of Demons of Chaos, Demons of Khorne to be more precise. What kind of madman would take an all Khorne, no magic defense army to a competitive Warhammer Fantasy tournament? And speaking of being mad, I am starting to feel a bit that way, having been looking into the souls of demons quite solidly now every night for 6 months. Lots of red paint on my fingertips. But it feels good now it's all done. And I've been doing it kind of batch painting style, unit by unit, trying to get it all finished. And having completed it all, as I'm sure many of you will have this feeling in the past as well, it is extremely satisfying. So let's go straight into it then. 2,500 points of Demons of Khorne, being led by this fella here, the Greater Demon of Khorne, the Bloodthirster. It's my first time doing one of these big kits, these big plastic kits for a big winged beast, and just really enjoyed it from start to finish. Putting them together and painting them up. Just gone for the classic red paint scheme with the whole army, as you can see. Several different head and weapon options on the Bloodthirster, and I believe because it came out during End Times, and obviously later moved over to Age of Sigmar, coming with a big oval base in the packet. They gave him different names like Unfettered Fury and Insensate Rage, but I've got no real use for all that, so it's just a normal Bloodthirster. A lot bigger model, of course, and I'm used to sort of, back in the day, the original Bloodthirster model was kind of half the size, and the wings were a lot less dynamic, and just a fantastic model. The other heads that came with the box, I found them a bit too sort of canine looking, a bit like a dog, whereas this head here was my favourite, which just looks just pure evil really, demonic, but also a bit human and skeletal, do you know what I mean? And the whip there, I started to take the end off the whip. It came with a kind of spiked end to the whip that was on fire, and just made it look like a bit like a flail really. I just thought there's no need for that, there's enough spikes on the whip already, so I took the end off the whip. And the base came with what I can only describe as a sort of quite hideous pedestal of fire underneath his foot, with two different options. One to sort of elevate the model a couple of inches off the base, make him look like he's sleeping in the air with fire underneath him, and another smaller flaming bit that I used but then just covered it up with a pile of skulls there, which I think turned out quite well in the end. So it looks like he's just leaping off a mound of skulls instead of just... I didn't really need any fire on the model, there's no need to have fire on the model. I wanted the model to look all sort of just dark, and my the basing that I've got for the army is quite dark with skulls on it, so just kept it like that, with the classic axe and whip combo. Really pleased with the way he turned out, and looking forward to getting him on the tabletop. His axe is quite clean at the moment, he hasn't really cleaved any skulls for Khorne yet. Haven't used him in a game, so doesn't have a nickname yet either. I'm hoping he won't be called Barry the Bloodthirster by the end of the tournament. I'm sure I'll come up with a nickname soon. On to the lesser demons. These guys are the Chaos Furies. I like these models as well. They're Warcry, I think, and they came with some sort of quite hideous flying demonic turkey things in the box, which I had to sell off on eBay. But these models are cool. I mean, there are lots of sort of minute detail on them. I didn't want to spend too long. I kind of just sort of decided to just brighten up the skin a bit, a little bit brighter than the other Bloodletters, and keep the wings dark. Tried to just do a bit more detail on the basing, skirmish trays, because they're only Chaos Furies and all they do is get charged and die. But it's good to have some flying minions in your army. And on to the Bloodletters. And these guys are quite fun to paint actually, a lot of dry brushing with the different shades of red, highlighting, did a bit of freehand on the banner, and of course the Hellblades. I really think with these models, my advice to anyone who is painting Bloodletters is to base the model around the sword, because the sword is the most prominent thing on the model, even though obviously there's more flesh than sword, there's more red than blade, but because they've all got these massive swords, you may as well decide before you start painting them, what colour am I going to do the swords. I mean, I did all the swords once and then changed them all, and did them twice and then changed them all again, because I really just couldn't decide how to do all the swords, and I should have just made a decision from the outset, I'm going to do the swords this way, and then decided, what colour the rest of the model's going to be. I've got a Herald of Khorne model here, which I'm actually just going to use him as a unit filler, because I bought this model, which I think is a lovely model. He's in just a really nice stance there, where he's just kind of bounding forward after having slain an opponent or something. But you just can't get him on a 25mm base, and not in a way that could be ranked up anyway. And so I've just put him on a rock on a 50mm base. I've got a dead elf there. Lots of dead elves. So it's really hard to rank these babies up. So I've got them on a big. My army has 42 of them, and I've got 40 models and a unit filler, so that should be enough for the models. It would be good, of course, if I can get a cheeky 6/6 in the magic phase and use some of the dead models, or make the most of them. I don't have loads of spare demons, so I hope I don't roll that on turn 1. But yeah, that'll probably be used as unit filler. The skull cannon. Again with the Bloodletters on the top. I just love this model. I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic model. I mean, you can see the skulls, how it, just the concept of this chariot that's just a living demon that just crushes into things and bunches them up through its 3 mouths. The skulls go into the belly of the beast and up through the middle of it and get fired out of the cannon at the top. I mean, it's just psycho stuff. But what a model. I mean, I just had so much fun, and I painted this one at the same time I painted the other one, and just loved it, start to finish. Had a lot of fun painting this army. The other one's over here. Onto the Blood Crushers. Now these Blood Crushers, I mean, funny, the Juggernauts. For a long time, I didn't really like the Juggernauts. Just found them a bit bit clunky, a bit square. I thought, no, I'm not really going to enjoy painting those. Do I really want them in my army? And I'd originally planned a list with a Soul Grinder and a Herald, and just a different army that didn't have Blood Crushers in. Didn't think they were that good in the rules either. But in the end, I went for them. I just looking at the pictures, I just thought, you know what? These guys, they're really dynamic. I mean, they kind of, I guess, I'd been a bit biased from seeing lots of the Skull Crusher models with the Chaos Warriors on them that do look a bit static, because the Chaos Warriors are just sort of saddled on like they're trotting on a horse, whereas these Bloodletters are sort of bounding a lot. They're sort of almost like holding on because they're about to fall off, like they're really in dynamic poses, like this guy sort of leaping up the top of it, and you can just imagine the Juggernauts charging across the open battlefield, and these Bloodletters kind of just hanging on by the skin of their teeth, like there could be sort of one leap or bound from the Juggernaut and the Bloodletter will just go flying, and they really look like they're charging. I did this banner a little bit different to this banner. I'll probably give one of them the Banner of Eternal Flame. This is actually a metal Herald model here. Fantastic pose he's in. Probably use him as a unit champion, to be honest. But in smaller games, he'll be a Herald. And at the front here, you've got the Flesh Hounds. And these are the only metal models in the army. Not that nice models to work with, to be honest. Big hunks of metal where you've got to sort of glue all the legs on and stuff. Lots of bits of metal hanging off them. Gone for a bit of a brighter purple on these guys to make them stand out a bit. But I do like how they turned out in the end. So that's the list. All pretty straightforward. I don't think it's very competitive. I think the lack of magic and magic defense will hurt me if my opponent rolls well in their magic phase. I do have magic resistance across the board, which could help protect me from the magic missiles and direct damage spells. But any army that's able to seriously buff up their units or cast spells on me that take away my ability to move or charge, that's really going to cost me. And at the end of the day, if I get a bit unlucky in the magic phase, that could be the difference between winning and losing at any point in time. But I am nonetheless going to play to win. They've got a comp score, a comp system on the Triple Crown, and mine comes out as a +4. It's funny because I get quite a lot of pluses actually for being all Khorne, for having no magic, for taking these Blood Crusher units. But so that easily brings me up to sort of +10, but then I have some minuses for taking 2 Skull Cannons and for taking a big unit. This big unit of Bloodletters gives me a -3 on the comp just because it comes in over 600 points. But Bloodletters are pretty weak, to be honest. I mean, they've got the 5-up ward, but they are just toughness 3. And they've only got 1 attack each, you know. So I think I could have got up to say a +7 comp if I'd taken 2 units of 20 instead of 1 unit of 40. But I've just gone for the big horde. I think it just looks good as well. I mean, when deciding what army to play or what models to buy, I normally go primarily for what looks the best, because I'm not the most experienced 8th edition player by any stretch of the imagination, and my goal isn't, I'm going there to try and win a tournament. My goal there is to have fun and to make sure that any opponent that I face just sees my army and thinks, wow, this is a cool army, it's painted nicely, and I'm going to enjoy this game, win, lose or draw. That's my goal. And for those of you that have seen, in fact, if you flick back through videos a few videos earlier on the channel, you'll see my dwarf army showcase from last year, which I took to the same event last year, and that too was quite a sort of fluffy list, which had dwarf warriors and slayers. I didn't have any of the elite units there, so that was quite a fluffy list as well. A plus list. This is another plus list, just looking forward to meeting people and just have a great weekend rolling dice and having some laughs. That's the plan. But I am competitive at heart, and I will be trying to win every game. I think there's always a chance that I could, get a good victory, especially because I've got 2 cannons. I mean, when you've got 2 cannons, you can always get lucky. You can get first turn. You can take out a big target on turn 1 and stack the odds in your favour to begin with. The army's very mobile, and the flesh hounds are movement 8. I've got flyers. I've got monstrous cavalry, banner of swiftness on the horde. So with a very mobile army, you can always catch some people off guard. You can maneuver into places where you can get flank charges and rear charges and so on. An all-Khorne list does lack the sort of vanguard and scout rules, which I think would be useful. But in terms of the movement phase and the sort of chaff war that can often happen before the main blocks get into combat, I've got the advantage of having the light chaff and the elite chaff, if that makes any sense. The furies being the expendable chaff, which are there to die, and the flesh hounds being what I would call elite chaff, in the sense that they've got 2 wounds, strength 4, toughness 4. I'm happy to put them into any other chaff unit. If you see a bunch of Illyrian reavers or mounted yeomen or whatever, warhounds or whatever it is, your other chaff your enemy's going to have, they don't want any part of those flesh hounds. So I'm hoping to rely on a good movement phase and setting up good combats, because that's the only way I'm going to win, really. I'm going to struggle against any other big block of infantry with a high initiative, even like a horde of high elf spearmen. No, there's none of my units that wants any part of a horde of high elf spearmen. Obviously, if I get the bloodthirster in at the same time as one of my other units, then I could win a lot of combats, because the bloodthirster can just unload into the unit, and my other unit champion can prevent him from having to get stuck in a challenge. But I think against a lot of opponents, I'm going to struggle. Particularly if the bloodthirster dies from a stone thrower or something, or a cannon or something, turn 1 or turn 2. There's always a risk of that. And it's funny, actually, I sort of laughing to myself, the shoe being on the other foot, as it were. A dwarf player for some time now, being the person pointing cannons at the monsters and being like, yeah, what are you worried about? And now it's going to be the other way around. I'm going to be the guy with the monster trying to avoid the cannons. But it's all good. Hope you like it. The objective is to win 1 game and to not come last. Those are my 2 main objectives for the 2-day tournament. And I hope to post a few roundup videos, or maybe just I'll do it all in one video, we'll see, after the tournament, to let you know how it went and go through the different games. So stay tuned. Speak to you all soon. Bye bye.